Welcome everyone. Today we're diving into the fascinating world of Jurassic Park dinosaurs. As a staff paleontologist here at Jurassic Park, I'm thrilled to guide you through the science and stories behind these incredible creatures that walk among us. Meet Gigantoraptor, a dinosaur so unusual that when its first fossil was discovered, paleontologists thought that they had found the leg bone of a giant long-necked theropod. But in reality, Gigantoraptor was something else entirely. Standing over 16 feet tall and stretching more than 26 feet in length, this enormous bird-like predator wasn't your average raptor. Unlike its smaller feathered relatives, Gigantoraptor had a toothless beak, a short tail for balance, and possibly a flashy crest, though to this day we've never found a full skull to confirm it. And while many of its oviraptors or cousins dine on a mix of fruit, shellfish, and small prey, Gigantoraptor may have had a much broader diet. With its sheer size and powerful beak, it likely ate whatever it could find: meat, plants, or anything in between. In addition, most oviraptorosaurs were small, fast, and likely covered in feathers, but Gigantoraptor was an outlier. It grew to massive proportions, towering over its relatives, and it may have matured much faster than other theropods. While most dinosaurs took their time growing, Gigantoraptor may have reached its full size in just over a decade, an evolutionary advantage that let it dominate its environment. Gigantoraptor is just one of many awe-inspiring dinosaurs we care for here at Jurassic Park, bringing the ancient past to life in extraordinary ways. In this video, we'll take a deep dive into its paleontological profile, examining everything we know about this giant bird-like predator, and then show you how we use that knowledge to design an exhibit that brings Gigantoraptor's prehistoric world to life. Let's take a closer look at one of the most astonishing discoveries in the world of dinosaurs, Gigantoraptor. This massive creature is not only the largest oviraptorosaur that we've ever found, but it also challenges a lot of what we thought about these theropods. First of all, let's talk about scale. Gigantoraptor is nothing short of astonishing. At an estimated 26 feet long and towering over 11 feet at the hips, this animal tipped the scales at nearly 2 tons. To put that into perspective, it was almost 3 times the length and 35 times the weight of Siripati, previously the largest oviraptorosaur we'd ever encounter. Gigantoraptor didn't just challenge our expectations of this group, it shattered them. Gigantoraptor belongs to the oviraptorosaur family, a lineage typically known for small feathered dinosaurs. But don't let the name fool you, this creature was anything but small. And yet, despite its towering frame, Gigantoraptor shares several hallmark traits with its more modest cousins. Take its toothless, shovel-like lower jaw and broad beak. For instance, both point to a generalist diet. It likely fed on a variety of plant material, with the occasional bite of meat, making it a probable omnivore. Unlike the bone-crushing jaw seen in some of its distant relatives, Gigantoraptor's deep jaw structure hints at something different: shearing bite. Much like the modern-day tuatara, this adaptation would have been ideal for slicing through tough vegetation and perhaps even small prey. It's yet another clue that Gigantoraptor wasn't just big, it was versatile. When it comes to appearance, Gigantoraptor likely wore a coat of feathers, much like its oviraptorosaur kin. But here's where it gets interesting. At such an enormous size, it may have been only partially feathered. That possibly opens the door to fascinating questions about how it managed body heat in the semi-arid environment it once roamed. While no direct skin impressions have been found, comparisons with smaller relatives suggest it retained enough plumage to aid in agility and thermal regulation. It's a blend of science and educated guesswork, exactly the kind of challenge we live for here at Jurassic Park. One glance at Gigantoraptor's long hind limbs and the message is clear. This was a dinosaur built for motion. The elongated, muscular lower legs suggest it was capable of impressive speeds, whether to evade predators or traverse great distances in search of food. For an herbivore of this scale, mobility was crucial. Covering vast areas would have been essential to find enough vegetation to meet its dietary needs. If you've explored some of our other exhibits, you'll notice a recurring theme. Mobility was a key survival trait for many of our larger dinosaurs, and Gigantoraptor is no exception. What's truly fascinating about Gigantoraptor is how quickly it grew. The specimen we've studied wasn't even fully mature. It was still a young adult, meaning it likely had room to grow even larger. When we compare its growth patterns to those of other larger theropods, like the Tyrannosaurs, one thing stands out: speed. Gigantoraptor had an exceptionally rapid growth rate, and that's likely a big part of how it managed to sustain such an enormous body. It simply didn't waste time getting there. Now, let's take a closer look at those jaws. Gigantoraptor possessed a deep U-shaped dentary, a jaw shape typically associated with non-selective feeders. In other words, it wasn't picky. This design suggests a generalist diet, allowing it to consume a wide range of foods, much like some of the large herbivores of its time, including the hadrosaurs. What's more, the structure of the jaw and evidence of backward jaw movement points to a highly efficient feeding mechanism. Whether it was slicing through tough plant material or opportunistically scavenging meat, Gigantoraptor had the tools to make the most of whatever it found. And finally, let's talk about nesting. Evidence from Gigantoraptor's larger oviraptorosaur cousins suggests these dinosaurs built ring-shaped nests with a central gap, an ingenious adaptation to keep their massive bodies from crushing their own eggs. This behavior offers more than just a glimpse into their reproductive habits. It reveals the complex challenges these giants face in raising young and ensuring the survival of their species in a dynamic prehistoric world. Here at Jurassic Park, Gigantoraptor plays a crucial role in expanding our understanding of theropod diversity. It may not be the first dinosaur that comes to mind when you think of the park, but its presence highlights the extraordinary range of life that once thrived in these ancient ecosystems. Within the franchise, Gigantoraptor represents a forgotten giant, those lesser known, yet equally remarkable species that walked the earth long before us, and whose stories deserve to be told. Later in this video, we'll take you behind the scenes as we design the Gigantoraptor exhibit here at Jurassic Park. Drawing on fossil evidence, behavioral research, and its paleontological context, our team has been working tirelessly to create an environment that truly brings this giant theropod to life. But before we reveal how we're building this world, we'll first explore Gigantoraptor's paleontological origins, its ancient ecosystem, and the role it plays within the Jurassic Park franchise. Stay tuned as we journey back millions of years to recreate a habitat worthy of this remarkable creature. Let's begin with the remarkable paleontological history of Gigantoraptor. In the early 2000s, the Saihangaobi quarry within the Irandavasu Formation was known for yielding fossils of the theropod Sonitosaurus. But in 2005, during the filming of a Japanese documentary, paleontologist Jude was asked to reenact the discovery of one such specimen. As he unearthed a large thigh bone for the camera, he quickly realized it didn't belong to a theropod at all. What he uncovered was something entirely different, a fossil from a previously unknown theropod. That theropod would come to be known as Gigantoraptor, and thanks to the camera rolling at the exact moment, this incredible case of scientific serendipity was captured on film, marking a milestone in the field of paleontology. Now, let's take a closer look at the Gigantoraptor holotype, the only known specimen of this extraordinary theropod. The fossil belongs to a young adult, estimated to have been just 11 years old at the time of death, significantly younger than many of the large theropods. Through bone analysis, researchers discovered that Gigantoraptor experienced an accelerated growth rate, reaching young adulthood by the age of 7. This rapid development sets it apart, especially when compared to non-avian theropods like Tyrannosaurus rex, which matured at a much slower pace. It's yet another clue that Gigantoraptor was doing something different, both evolutionarily and ecologically. In 2007, Zhu and his team formally named and described the species as Gigantoraptor erlianensis, a tribute to the Erlian Basin where the fossil was unearthed. The genus name combines the Latin gigas, meaning giant, and raptor, meaning Caesar, and the name couldn't be more appropriate. With its towering frame over 11 feet tall at the hips and stretching more than 26 feet in length, Gigantoraptor stood as a colossal presence in the late Cretaceous landscape. Interestingly, Zhu and his team also proposed in 2007 that due to its massive size, Gigantoraptor may have been partially naked. Unlike its smaller, fully feathered relatives, this giant theropod may not have needed a full coat of feathers for temperature regulation. However, the researchers still believe that feathers, particularly on the arms, were likely present. These wouldn't have just served for insulation, but also for behaviors like courtship display and brooding eggs, much like what we observe in modern birds today. Now, let's turn our attention to the fossil itself. The holotype, cataloged as LHV0011, consists of incomplete and disassociated remains, yet it provides an extraordinary window into the anatomy of this giant theropod. Among the preserved elements are a nearly complete mandible, several vertebrae, parts of the scapula, humerus, radius, ulna, femur, tibia, fibula, and a nearly complete right foot. Despite its fragmentary nature, the fossil has yielded a wealth of information. Today, the specimen is carefully housed at the Longhout Institute of Geology and Paleontology, where it continues to inform our understanding of Gigantoraptor and its kin. In 2007, a histological analysis of Gigantoraptor's fibula revealed 7 lines of arrested growth, essentially growth rings much like those in trees that offer valuable clues about age. Based on these rings, researchers determined that the specimen was 11 years old at the time of death. What's truly remarkable is the rate at which it grew. Estimates suggest Gigantoraptor added between 128 to 140 kilograms, roughly 282 to 300 pounds each year. That's an exceptionally rapid growth rate, especially when compared to other large theropods, and it underscores just how biologically unique this animal was. In 2015, another significant discovery emerged, this time from the Bayan Shire Formation in Mongolia. A partial denary, strikingly similar to that of Gigantoraptor, was uncovered and reported by vertebrate paleontologist Takanobu Suihiyi and his team. Although the specimen was incomplete, it offered compelling evidence that Gigantoraptor had close relatives in the region. This find expanded our understanding of the distribution of these giant oviraptorosaurs and hinted at a broader and more diverse lineage than previously recognized. One of Gigantoraptor's most remarkable anatomical features is its jaw structure. In 2017, vertebrate paleontologist Weissam Ma and colleagues found that it had the deepest beak among known kinignathids, indicating a highly specialized diet. The mechanics of its jaw, capable of forward and backward motion, suggest it used a shearing bite, an adaptation well suited for slicing through tough vegetation and potentially even scavenging meat. While similar jaw movement has been noted in modern reptiles like the tuatara, seeing this trait in a theropod of such size highlights just how unique Gigantoraptor was among its oviraptorosaur relatives, which typically relied on crushing jaws for harder prey. Another standout trait of Gigantoraptor is its exceptionally long hind limbs. In most large theropods, increased size comes with shorter, stockier legs built for power rather than speed, but Gigantoraptor breaks that pattern. With femurs and tibias each exceeding a meter in length, it possessed some of the most elongated legs of any theropod its size. This made it highly cursorial, built for sustained speed, allowing it to cover vast distances efficiently, likely in search of food across the open landscapes it once called home. These long legs were complemented by another remarkable adaptation, an extensively pneumatized vertebral column. In simple terms, many of Gigantoraptor's vertebrae was full of air sacs and hollow, just like a bird. This pneumatic structure significantly reduced its overall body weight, making it more efficient and agile. Combined with its elongated limbs, this feature will have greatly enhanced its ability to move swiftly across its environment, an unusual trait for an animal of that size. And as we wrap up our look at Gigantoraptor's paleontological history, we can't overlook the fascinating discovery of Machilingothitis, giant oviraptorosaur eggs that were likely laid by Gigantoraptor or a closely related species. Some of these eggs measure up to 50 centimeters in length and were arranged in massive ring-shaped nests stretching nearly 3 meters across. These extraordinary nesting sites, when considered alongside Gigantoraptor's immense size, offer invaluable insight into how these animals may have lived, cared for their young, and interacted with their prehistoric environment. Now that we've explored the paleontological profile of Gigantoraptor, it's time to step into its world, literally. What role did this towering theropod play in its ecosystem millions of years ago? What creatures did it share its environment with, and how did it interact with them? In the next segment, we'll dive into the paleoecology of Gigantoraptor, followed by a look at how this remarkable dinosaur fits into the Jurassic Park franchise. And finally, we'll take you behind the scenes to see how we're bringing this world to life right here at the park. Now, let's dive into the paleoecology of Gigantoraptor, the ancient world it once roamed. This remarkable theropod is known from the Dinosaur Formation in Inner Mongolia, which dates to roughly 95.8 million years ago during the late Cretaceous. However, a 2022 study examining new Ornithomimosaur fossils from the same region has introduced some debate. While vertebrate fossils within the formation suggest a Turonian age, similar to the Besekti Formation in Uzbekistan, invertebrate fossils tell a different story, possibly pointing to a much later period, such as the Campanian or even Maastrichtian. It's a compelling reminder that in paleontology, pinning down the age of a fossil site is often more complex than it appears. The Dinosaur Formation itself was a humid environment characterized by a large braided river valley and expansive floodplains. These lush areas were likely rich in plant life and supported a variety of herbivorous dinosaurs, including Bactrosaurs and Gilmorosaurus. Evidence of semi-arid climates also point to carbonate-rich soils, suggesting that the region experienced intermittent dry periods. The landscape would have been dotted with aquatic ecosystem as well, home to freshwater algae, specifically charophytes that form moss-like branching structures, and ostracods, small crustaceans that thrive in these water-rich habitats. It's important to note that in art and media, it's common to see animals from the same formation depicted as coexisting, but there's a key issue. Rock formations span vast stretches of time. Some represent brief snapshots while others cover millions of years. In many cases, dinosaurs discovered within the same formation may actually come from different stratigraphic layers, sometimes separated by billions of years. Take Gigantoraptor, for example. This dinosaur lived in the Yellow Cat member of the Cedar Mountain Formation around 140-135 million years ago. Meanwhile, Seats, another dinosaur from that same formation, lived roughly 98 million years ago. Despite being found in the same geological unit, these two species were separated by over 35 million years and never coexisted. That's why, when depicting dinosaurs from a specific formation, it's essential to carefully examine the layers they came from to avoid misleading assumptions about their relationships. Returning to the Irrandabasu Formation, the same principle holds true. This formation has yielded fossils from a diverse range of dinosaurs, each filling a unique ecological role. Among them was Electrosaurus, a lightly built, fast-running tyrannosaurid that likely hunted smaller prey or scavenged across the floodplains. Archaeornithomimus, an ostrich-like theropod, was built for speed and may have been omnivorous, feeding on plants, insects, and small invertebrates. The formation also produced Therizinosaurs, like Erlinosaurus with its massive claws and herbivorous diet, and Nemungosaurus, a feathered long-necked browser adapted for mid-height vegetation. Herbivores were also well represented. Soninosaurus, a smaller Titanosaurus theropod, likely fed on high foliage and contributed to the shaping of the ecosystem's plant life. Bactrosaurus and Gilmorosaurus, two early hadrosaurs, had powerful jaws for grinding tough plant material and may have moved in herds across the river plains. Armored dinosaurs like the Larurus, an early ankylosaurid with a heavy tail club for defense, and Sagantegia, a rare ankylosaurid known for its low, wide skull and robust armor, also called this region home. However, while all of these species came from the Irrandabasu Formation, it's important to remember they didn't necessarily coexist. Many may have lived in different layers, separated by thousands or even millions of years. Interestingly, the Irrandabasu and Bayashira Formation are also considered correlated, thanks to the presence of similar vertebrate fossils found in both regions. Most notably, a giant kinnignatid, one of Gigantoraptor's closest known relatives, was discovered in the Bayashira Formation, strengthening the case for a direct connection between these two ancient ecosystems. Alongside this, evidence of fluvial sedimentary environments in both formations suggests that Gigantoraptor and its kin likely favored domestic habitats, moist, river-fed landscapes over the arid or semi-arid environments typically associated with many other theropods. But what does this mean for Gigantoraptor's lifestyle? Despite its towering size, Gigantoraptor wouldn't have been invincible. It likely had to stay alert in a landscape shared with formidable predators. Among them was Electrosaurus, a swift tyrannosaurid that may have hunted in packs, and Achillobator, a powerful dromaeosaurid with sickle-like claws built for slashing. And looming above them all was Tarbosaurus, a massive apex predator closely related to Tyrannosaurus rex. These carnivores were part of the same dynamic ecosystem, shaping the behavior and survival strategies of even the largest herbivores like Gigantoraptor. Living in a semi-arid environment, Gigantoraptor likely had to cope with periods of limited food availability. Its impressive size, combined with its omnivorous diet, suggests it was a highly adaptable forager, capable of interacting with a wide range of species within its ecosystem. This diet may have included a mix of fibrous plants, fruits, and possibly small animals, positioning Gigantoraptor as a key player in the local food web. However, the exact composition of its diet remains uncertain and continues to be a topic of active research among paleontologists. Another reminder of how much there's still much to learn about this remarkable dinosaur. As we continue to uncover more about Gigantoraptor, studying its paleoecology allows us to piece together a clearer picture of the world it once roamed. This giant theropod was part of a dynamic and diverse ecosystem, and its interaction with other species likely played a key role in shaping that ancient environment. Coming up next, we'll take a look at Gigantoraptor's presence in the Jurassic Park franchise and how its portrayal has evolved over time. Then we'll go behind the scenes to show you how we're designing its exhibit here at Jurassic Park, drawing on everything we've learned about this extraordinary animal. Gigantoraptor may not have taken center stage in the Jurassic Park franchise, at least not yet, but it still has managed to leave its mark behind the scenes. One of the most intriguing examples come from Jim Martin's early storyboards for Jurassic World, where Gigantoraptor was originally slated to appear. Although it ultimately didn't make it into the final cut, its inclusion during pre-production shows it was on the creative's team radar. It was also tied to a scrap attraction concept, which would have paired it with a crestless hadrosaur, likely a Montosaurus, suggesting a more diverse and herbivore-focused experience than what appeared in the finished film. Despite not appearing in the films, Gigantoraptor has been gradually making its way into the other corners of the Jurassic Park franchise. In Jurassic World Evolution 2, it initially surfaced in the game's database under the entry for Archaeornithomimus, offering fans a subtle nod to its existence. But it wasn't until the release of the Cretaceous Pack DLC on November 30th, 2023, that players could finally bring Gigantoraptor into their parks. This marked a milestone, the first official appearance of this giant theropod in a Jurassic Park video game. While there may not be a lot of Gigantoraptor content in the franchise just yet, I'm hopeful the future holds more chances to see this beautiful, but potentially deadly, creature in action. As the Jurassic Park universe continues to expand, who knows, maybe Gigantoraptor will step into the spotlight in future films, exhibits, or games, continuing to surprise us with his towering presence. When it came to designing the Gigantoraptor exhibit, our first priority was space. Lots of it. Everything we knew about this animal pointed to one thing. It was built for movement. Unlike many other large theropods, Gigantoraptor had long, powerful legs that indicated a running lifestyle. To honor that, we created an expansive enclosure that would allow for natural running behaviors. This wasn't just about meeting biological needs, it was about bringing guests closer to the real experience of seeing this animal in motion. One of our most exciting features is the guest zipline. Suspended high above the enclosure, it allows visitors to soar across the habitat while Gigantoraptors roam or race beneath them. It's an exhilarating bird's eye experience that provides both safety and an unforgettable memory. Few attractions can match the thrill of gliding over a living, breathing theropod that once dominated the late Cretaceous. But we didn't want to limit interactions to just overhead views. At ground level, we introduced a log viewing gallery, an immersive, naturalistic walkway built into the landscape itself. This quiet corner of the exhibit allows for close-up encounters with the animal while respecting their space. Carefully placed logs, ferns, and moss-covered stone help blur the lines between the exhibit and ecosystem, making the experience feel organic and authentic. At the heart of the enclosure lies a shallow spring-fed lake. We added it not just for aesthetic purposes, but to mimic the kind of water sources Gigantoraptor may have used in its natural habitat. It provides a space for cooling off, drinking, and possibly even foraging along the water's edge. Around the lake, we planted an array of leafy climbers. These fast-growing plants serve as both visual cover and a primary food source, aligning with the omnivorous diet we believe Gigantoraptor may have followed. To further enrich the environment, we introduced Temskia ferns, a prehistoric plant that once flourished in similar mesic habitats. These ferns add biodiversity to the exhibit and create a visual link to the kinds of flora Gigantoraptor may have walked among millions of years ago. Our paleobotanists also proposed the inclusion of ginkgo trees near the log gallery. However, soil tests revealed unstable substrate in that section, and our geotech team limited the planting there to ensure a structural safety. With that hurdle behind us, we focus on the back half of the enclosure, a more secluded forested area designed for rest and retreat. Heavy canopy foliage provided shade and privacy, giving the Gigantoraptors a place to withdraw from public view. This wasn't just for their comfort, it's a vital enrichment tool. Animals need control over their environment, and this retreat zone gives them autonomy over whether they engage with guests and where they prefer solitude. We also made a point to include patches of bare soil throughout the enclosure. Over time, wear and tear from the animal's movement will naturally create these patches, but pre-planning them into the design helped us guide foot traffic and minimize erosion in sensitive areas. These dirt clearings also provide the Gigantoraptors with a familiar texture underfoot, important for comfort, health, and behavioral expression. As construction progressed, our paleobotanists returned with a new request: more leafy climbers, especially concentrated around the resting zone. These plants not only serve a dietary role, but they also create soft, shaded spaces where the animals can lie down and relax comfortably. Once the team was satisfied with the balance of greenery and open space, we moved on to the exhibit's rockwork. We used natural stones throughout the enclosure, especially in the rest area. These rocks serve multiple purposes. They form subtle natural barriers, offer scratching surfaces, and act as terrain features that break up the landscape and encourage exploration. Watching a Gigantoraptor lean into a boulder to scratch its flank is a surprisingly relatable sight, and one that adds a powerful touch of realism for visitors. Of course, no project of this scale is without its adjustments. As the foliage reached maturity, the paleobotanist determined that the enclosure had become a bit too dense, risking visibility and safety for our dinosaur keepers. So, during the final weeks, we carefully scaled back some of the undergrowth to strike the perfect balance between function, realism, and aesthetics. With the habitat complete, we turned our attention to the functional infrastructure. Carnivore feeders were installed to provide a secondary food source, reflecting Gigantoraptor's omnivorous tendencies. These feeders were placed by the lake to encourage natural foraging behavior. The final step was placing the ranger post and staff access gate. We positioned both near the log gallery, giving our team convenient access for monitoring and maintenance without disrupting the guest view lines or the animal's retreat space. This 11-foot tall turkey lookalike is a stunning, if slightly intimidating, addition to any Jurassic Park. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.